We live in a world that constantly tells us to hurry up, to be more, to do more. Alarms go off, emails pile up, and the calendar fills before the sun even rises. And in the midst of all this noise, we begin our days under pressure. Pressure to perform, to achieve, to stay ahead. But what if that's the wrong fuel entirely? What if rising in the morning wasn't about pressure at all, but about purpose? Now, when you wake up driven by pressure, everything becomes a reaction. You respond to deadlines, you chase goals someone else set for you, and you measure success by speed and volume. That kind of grind burns hot and fast. It pushes people to exhaustion because the goalposts keep moving. No matter how much you do, it never feels like enough. And the worst part, you can win at that game and still feel empty. That's because pressure is external, and when we let it guide our lives, we surrender the internal compass that truly gives our effort meaning. But rising with purpose, that's different. Purpose doesn't shout at you, it whispers. It doesn't demand, it invites. It pulls you out of bed not because you're afraid of falling behind, but because you believe in something bigger than yourself. When your actions are rooted in purpose, the grind transforms. It becomes a form of service, a way to live in alignment with your beliefs. It no longer feels like a burden, it feels like a contribution. Purpose doesn't make the work easier, but it does make it worthwhile. You still face challenges, you still have to put in the hours, but instead of grinding to survive, you grind to build. Instead of chasing approval, you're following a calling. Purpose creates. Because when setbacks come, and they always do, you're not knocked down as easily, you know what you're working toward. And you know why it matters. The beauty of living with purpose is that it can't be faked. You don't rise early just to post about it. You don't hustle for applause. You do it because something inside you believes it's worth it. That belief may not always make sense to others. It may not show up on spreadsheets or social media, but it will show up in your consistency, in your courage, and in your impact. It becomes the quiet force behind everything you do. So before you rise and grind tomorrow, ask yourself one question: what am I rising for? If your answer is driven by fear or pressure, pause. Reconnect with what you believe. Reconnect with why you started. Because when we rise with purpose, we stop reacting and we start leading. We stop grinding to keep up and we start grinding to make a difference. And that changes everything. Would you like the next keynote expanded as well? Motivation is a beautiful thing, but it's also unreliable. It shows up when things are exciting, when the air is buzzing with possibility, and when success feels within reach. But what about the days when it doesn't? What happens when you're tired, uncertain, overwhelmed, or just uninspired? That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is the muscle you build when motivation disappears. It's the promise you keep to yourself long after the feeling is gone. We've built a culture that glorifies being motivated. Social media is filled with quotes, montages, and slogans urging people to chase their dreams. But motivation is emotional, and emotions are volatile. They rise and fall based on everything from the weather to how much sleep you got last night. If you build your grind around motivation, you'll only move when you feel like it, and you'll stop the moment it gets uncomfortable. Purposeful people, truly impactful people, don't operate on motivation. They operate on discipline. Discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't always feel good. It's waking up before the sun, not because you want to, but because you said you would. It's practicing the same fundamentals day after day without applause, without recognition, and often without immediate results. Discipline is what you fall back on when the initial spark fades. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. And consistency is the foundation of trust, both with others and within yourself. What separates those who finish from those who quit isn't passion or inspiration, it's structure. The structure of habits, the quiet accountability that doesn't depend on external rewards. Discipline creates freedom. It frees you from the mood swings of motivation. It allows you to make progress even on bad days. And perhaps most importantly, it's how you build something that lasts. Because what's built on discipline doesn't collapse when the mood changes. It endures. There's also a kind of dignity in discipline. It reinforces that you are in control of your time, your choices, and your focus. You don't wait for the world to hand you the perfect conditions. You show up regardless. That sends a message to everyone around you, and more importantly to yourself, that your mission matters enough to keep showing up for it, no matter what. That kind of integrity compounds over time. It becomes identity. So yes, rise and grind, but not because you're fired up in the moment. Do it because you've made a commitment. Do it because you're building something bigger than how you feel right now. Motivation will come and go, but discipline is yours to choose every single day. That choice is where real growth begins. Would you like me to expand the next keynote too? Somewhere along the way, the word grind got twisted into a badge of pain. People began to wear exhaustion like it was proof of commitment. They started confusing burnout with bravery and suffering with success. But the grind was never meant to be suffering. The grind, when it's done right, is a form of service. It's not about pushing yourself to the edge just to prove you can. It's about showing up over and over for something or someone that matters deeply to you. When we think of grinding as suffering, we create a culture where people feel the need to constantly sacrifice their health, their peace, even their relationships, all in the name of ambition. But true purpose doesn't demand that kind of destruction. Purpose isn't a tyrant. It doesn't want you to lose yourself in the process of achieving something. Instead, it calls you to contribute, not just to grind, but to serve. And service brings meaning. It grounds effort in impact. Service changes the way we perceive hard work. You're no longer grinding for ego, for image, or for comparison. You're grinding because someone, somewhere, will benefit from what you build. Or maybe it's your team. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your community. When your grind becomes service, you stop counting hours and start measuring value. You stop chasing attention and start offering intention. Every action becomes a small act of generosity. That doesn't mean the grind gets easier. It just means the pain has a place. The exhaustion has context. When you see your work as service, even the difficult moments carry dignity. You're not just pushing through to check a box. You're pushing through to contribute something real. You're not suffering for the sake of appearance. You're showing up because someone else needs what only you can give. That shift changes everything. It adds depth to the discomfort. It gives purpose to the persistence. In this light, rest is no longer weakness. It's stewardship. You rest so you can serve again. You recover not to escape the grind, but to sustain it. Service-based grinding is not about proving your worth. It's about offering your work. That's a powerful distinction. One is rooted in fear of being left behind. The other is rooted in love for what lies ahead. One is fueled by insecurity, the other by a deep belief that your work can make things better. So rise and grind, but not because you're trying to win some invisible competition. Rise and grind because there's a purpose that needs your hands, your voice, your heart. Let your effort be a gift, not a cry for validation. You're not here to suffer, you're here to serve. And when you grind in service of something bigger than yourself, you don't just endure, you uplift. And that's the kind of grind that leaves a legacy. You'd like me to continue with the next keynote? We often talk about hustle like it's a flash of brilliance. Those all-nighters, the adrenaline-fueled sprints, the dramatic moments of breakthrough. But the truth is, the real hustle doesn't live in extremes. It lives in the repetition. The unseen, uncelebrated, unglamorous repetition. The people who truly move the needle in this world aren't always the loudest or the fastest. They're the most consistent, because consistency, not intensity, is what builds momentum that lasts. Consistency is quiet. It rarely gets praised. No one's posting about showing up at 6 a.m. every day for 6 months without missing. No one applauds the routine, but that's where excellence lives. In the hours no one sees. In the decisions you make when no one is watching, in the commitment to keep showing up even when the excitement is gone. So real hustle isn't fueled by mood swings or occasional bursts of effort. It's built on showing up again and again, whether you feel like it or not. The problem with chasing intensity is that it's hard to sustain. You can sprint, but you can't sprint forever. You can stay up all night once, maybe twice, but your body and your mind will eventually push back. What lasts is rhythm. What lasts is routine. Consistency is about building a system that allows you to keep growing without burning out. It's not about doing everything all at once. It's about doing the right things over and over until they compound into something powerful. Consistency also builds trust. Not just trust from others, but trust in yourself. Every time you follow through on a promise, no matter how small, you reinforce your own integrity. You become someone you can rely on. That kind of self-trust isn't loud, but it's transformational. It removes the need for external validation because you know deep down that you're doing the work. And over time, that quiet consistency beats occasional greatness every single time. There's nothing flashy about practice. There's nothing glamorous about doing the same thing day after day to get better by just a fraction of a percent. But that's how mastery is built. That's how confidence is earned. Not in the moments where everything clicks, but in the hours where nothing does. Yet you keep going. The real hustle isn't found in a viral moment. It's found in the decision to keep going after everyone else has stopped. So when you rise and grind, don't aim for the highlight reel, aim for the habit. Be the person who shows up when no one else does. Be the one who plays the long game, who keeps promises, who builds brick by brick. Consistency isn't just the real hustle. It's the difference between potential and progress. And in the end, it's the steady that outlasts the spectacular. Would you like the next one expanded as well? How you begin your day shapes everything that follows? Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phones, diving into emails, news, notifications, starting the day reacting instead of leading. It's as if the world grabs you by the collar before you've even taken a breath. But your morning can be something far more powerful than a mad dash into urgency. It can be an act of meaning, a ritual of alignment, the moment where you reconnect with why you do what you do before the noise of the day tries to make you forget. And you begin your day with meaning. You're not rushing into action. You're setting intention. It might be a few minutes of silence, a quiet thought, a journal entry, a walk, or simply a question. What kind of person do I want to be today? This isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. Starting your day with meaning doesn't mean you won't face chaos. It means you're not letting chaos choose who you are. You are taking ownership of your mindset before the world can shape it for you. There's a reason the most grounded leaders protect their mornings. It's because they understand that if they don't lead themselves, they can't lead anything else. Purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. And the quietest time of day is often the only time you can hear it clearly. When you take even a few intentional moments to remember your purpose, your work becomes anchored. You're not just moving, you're moving in a direction that matters. And that kind of direction is what turns ordinary effort into meaningful contribution. Too many people wake up with urgency but no clarity. They run from task to task, productive but disconnected. They may get things done, but they don't feel fulfilled. That's because productivity without purpose is just motion. When your morning starts with meaning, even small actions feel aligned. You're not just answering emails, you're building relationships. You're not just checking boxes, you're advancing a cause. Meaning transforms your mindset, and mindset changes how you experience the grind. It's easy to think that meaning is something you find later. Once you've finished the tasks, climbed the ladder, reached the goal. But the truth is, meaning begins with how you start. It's found in the moments before the meetings, before the deadlines, before the performance begins. And the people who find purpose in their mornings are often the ones who carry that sense of direction throughout the entire day. They're not just reacting to life, they're shaping it. With clarity, with heart, with intention. So when you rise tomorrow, pause before you grind. Ask yourself, what matters today? Who do I want to serve? What do I want to stand for? Your alarm doesn't have to be a starting gun for stress. It can be a call to something deeper. Because when your morning starts with meaning, your day becomes more than just another 24. It becomes part of your mission.